Okay, folks, 6 o'clock we'll start. Considering we're a couple days away from Veterans Day, any veterans in the crowd, thank you for your service. Happy Veterans Day. Mel, if you could start the Pledge of Allegiance for us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, number 2, approve the agenda meeting. We need a motion for that. Okay. Number 3.
I have something on the minutes.
Sir.
On the minutes on number 18. It says on the economic development, it says here that the supervisor friends stated that she had gone to the seed committee with the trail funding request that the board had approved, but the committee denied it due to a board member's opposition. And I think that's referring to me. That thing lost on a vote of 4-1 by the seed committee. So it was not that it indicates here that a board member's opposition, and that's why it failed.
I guess I was going, when I listened to the minutes, that's what Amber had said, was that due to opposition from the board. I mean, I was just going based on what Amber stated at the meeting. I can change it if you want, but that is how it was stated.
Okay, thank you.
Unless you want to put from the Wood County Board, or the seed board,
The seed committee.
seed committee board.
What's that?
Do you want that changed? or- I thought she meant board opposition is how I took it to mean, our board opposition. Was that not the case?
I know there was some question there from the people, but I wasn't at that meeting, so
Okay.
well, let's get Amber's
Okay.
opinion.
Okay.
We'll change it if we go there.
So you will be bringing this back for
I can
approval
bring it
then the
back
next,
month
Yeah,
if you want.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's fine. So we'll table last month's meeting till we get, till we have Amber here. Everybody's okay with that? Okay, we will go to number 4, public comment. People wishing to address the board, 2 minutes each. Anybody? Sure.
For item 9, are you going to allow us to comment at that time, or do we need to comment now? About the water meeting that was held, recycling and that meeting? Okay,
We'll address that at that time.
Okay, so you're saying that those of us can comment on that agenda item at the time, or do we
Is
need?
there a specific item? If there's something specific, I guess I would have you do it now. in
Okay,
public.
all right, so, yeah, on item 7 of the minutes of the Recycling and Water Committee meeting, I'm hoping that the board will go ahead and probably like the Edgewood subdivision, get Lampert and Lee to survey or do whatever they do there. It says a profile survey map there of the 2-mile ditch to see about those water problems there in that area, 45th to 48th down to Auburn. The DNR gentleman that was here, Brad Betthausen, when I brought it up about, DNR getting involved, he said that, something like that would have to be done first to see what's going on there at the 2-mile ditch. So I would just hope that since the money was allocated for the Edgewood place, that to look into their problems, I would hope that the board would do the same thing for the 2-mile ditch.
Anything else?
I have the same thing with Shirley.
Can you state your name?
I'm Gary Sawyer. I'm on 45th Street, just down the road here. I checked the water. I'm about 8-9 inches below my concrete right now. but it was running for almost 3 months. And as I said in the past, the last 2 years it ran all summer and into the winter. If we don't look into it, it's just gonna get worse. And I feel that the water problem is compounded by the flooding of the creek. And we need to find out why. I mean, we spent the money over in the other area, we should be able to spend the money on this problem right here in this area, I think.
Anybody else? Sir?
I'm Keith Lukey, and I'm questioning the board as to why Jason Weicker can't be appointed to the water committee. I'd like to know the reason for that.
He can be an advisor.
Be an advisor.
Nick probably answered that.
So
Yeah.
I would recommend to the board that be the case, because he is a very knowledgeable civil engineer about water and water tables and how to approach the DNR. That's a critical issue on the 2 Mile Creek. I think it concerns everything from 80th Street to where that 2 mile dumps into the river. So I appreciate the board's consideration.
I'd like to second that or whatever. I think I talked to the gentleman, I think he knows what he's talking about.
Agreed,
Anybody else?
agreed. Barb Rainbow.
Any other public comments? No? We will move on to number 5, monthly reports from the departments. Mr. Fire Chief.
All right, good evening, board and residents. We're currently staffed with 46 members, 5 non-structural firefighters, and 20 members total trained to do EMS. We're always looking for good people. If so, contact me at the fire department. Our call breakdown, another busy month. We responded to 46 calls for service. We had 33 EMS calls and 13 calls for service on the fire side. So that broke down as 2 structure alarms, 1 gas leak smell, 2 motor vehicle accidents, a false alarm, 4 mutual aid calls, which consisted of 1 with Rapids, 1 with Port, and 2 with Rudolph, and 1 lift assist and 2 landing zones. So those calls respectively are 12% up in that period last month for EMS and 31% in fire. Training information, we did something different for EMS training last month. We participated with the police department and the sheriff's department, did the community bicycle ride, and we staffed EMS people around the route in case anybody had bicycle issues or medical issues. And then fire last month, we split up and tore apart 4 cars for extrication. Those cars were donated by Neiman's Towing and Recovery. Thank you to them. Meeting information was our regular monthly department meeting, our department officer meeting, 4 training meetings. In October, we continued with our fire prevention activities at several area schools. And our smoke detector program is still going. Last month, we installed 3 more address signs, and there were no injuries to report from the safety department. Any questions from the board?
I have a comment. I've been noticing lately different odors in the air, and went and investigated some of them, just looking. There's a lot of people burning things nowadays, and I don't know why. But is that something we should be reporting to the fire department? I mean, it smells like plastic burning, and I don't think people should be.
Oh yeah, we have
burning.
ordinances in the town, or we have our town ordinance.
So my question was, should somebody call that in to the fire department?
They sure can. We have called dispatch, and we can always go check it out every year. In the spring and the fall with the yard cleanup, we get called out to burning complaints. So
Okay, thank you.
you bet. Anything else from the board? All right,
Thank you, sir.
all right, thank you.
Please.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, for the month of October, the Grand Rapids Police Department handled 335 calls for service. That compared to 338 calls for service in October of last year, about less than a 1% increase or decrease in calls. And board members should have a breakdown of those calls. The police department issued 50 traffic citations, 3 municipal ordinance citations, and 35 written warnings for the month of October. On October 7th, the Grand Rapids Police Department participated in Run with the Cops event at the Centralia Center in Wisconsin Rapids. The proceeds from that event go to support Special Olympic athletes across Wisconsin. On October 14th, the Grand Rapids Police Department, the Grand Rapids Fire Department, first responders, and the Wood County Sheriff's Office participated in a community bike ride around Lake Wazeecha. It was an enjoyable ride and with the community members, and helped support the bike share program in the area. They hope to hold more of these community events next summer throughout the summer. On October 15th, I attended the fall legislative breakfast at the Bullseye Country Club. It was a great opportunity to hear from the state legislators, local community officials, and other government officials regarding topics affecting our local community. The breakfast was hosted by the Heart of Wisconsin Chamber of Commerce. On October 20th, I was invited to participate in a Career Discovery Day at Lincoln High School. Representatives from the law enforcement community were able to sit down with students in small group settings and discuss career opportunities in law enforcement. Students attending our sessions all expressed an interest in law enforcement, a career in law enforcement. Grand Rapids Police Department, the Wisconsin Rapids Police Department, and the Wood County Sheriff's Office, and also the Grand Rapids Auxiliary Police participated in the prescription drug take-back event, which was took place at the Pick and Save here in Wisconsin Rapids. That was on October 23rd, Saturday. Between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., 4 hours, we were able to collect 154.2 pounds of unwanted, expired, or unused pharmaceuticals at the Pick and Save. That's an all-time high for that event. I think last year we had around 132, 133, so 154 pounds is for 4 hours is pretty impressive. We also collected 101 pounds here at our local drop box in the front office there, and that was since April of 2021, the last take-back event. Nearly 5,000 collection sites nationwide, law enforcement and other organizations collected 745,000 pounds of unused prescription drugs. And just to put that in perspective, that's about the weight of the Statue of Liberty. So nationwide, 745,000 pounds of drugs were collected. These unused medications were then properly boxed and transported to Wausau for disposal. And I'd like to thank the Nakusa Police Department for assisting us in transporting the drugs up to Wausau for proper disposal. On October 27th, Officer Jaworski, Administrative Assistant Neneman, and I attended the 2021 Badger Tracks User Conference, which was held at the Holiday Inn Convention Center in Stevens Point. This training conference provided important information on Trax updates, Badger Trax hosted environment, web services, and other helpful hints for the everyday officer user. I'd like to thank the Grand Rapids Auxiliary Police for assisting with traffic direction at the Ridges Golf Course and the Grand Rapids Lion Club for the 2021 WIA State Cross Country Meet, which was held the the last Saturday in October, and they spent probably over 8 hours out there directing traffic. Just a personal observation from myself, I don't think I've ever seen that many people at this event. It was really well attended this year. I think people were anxious to get out and about and enjoy some sporting events, because there was a huge crowd just by the number of cars that they were parking both here at the Grand Rapids Lions Club, at Lincoln High School, and other locations around. They were parking clear up by Walmart in Wisconsin Rapids, so that gives you some idea of the number of people. The vehicles in the department are doing well outside of normal maintenance and minor repairs. And once again, if you ever want to chat or have any concerns or questions, feel free to stop by. Any questions?
That Career Discovery Day, are you guys seeing a decrease in people who are attending that because of what's going on with TV and everything in the last 9 months?
They bring in community leaders from all different careers paths, private business owners, you name it, EMS, so it covers everything. So they have a very good turnout. And actually, this year, I think, was a little better than years in the past as far as specific to the law enforcement career. So at that point, because this was attended mostly by juniors at Lincoln High School, so overall, I think it was well attended, and they had some good questions, and they legitimately were interested in pursuing a career. Now, whether that translates down the line, who knows? But no, it was very well attended, especially for the law enforcement part. So, which is encouraging.
Yeah, got to keep that fight up.
I'd like to ask.
No, Bill.
Thank you. So, on Thursdays at Mid-State Technical, I believe that's where they're coming from on 32nd Street. About 3 hours of sirens going off. What is that, some kind of training they have over there?
That's probably they got a recruit academy class going on there, and that's probably their EVOC training for that they do be on the south end of the campus there on their EVOC track. So that if there's a bunch of sirens going off, that would be our recruit class doing the training there, yes.
Okay.
Not our, like in Grand Rapids, for the recruit class for Mid-State.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. For the month of October, current month receipts were $113,230 with current month disbursements of $441,899. Cash on hand at the end of the month was $1,200,830 with $105,025 in checking, $627,282 in the repo account, $326,449 in the money market, and then we do have the ARPA money market account now, and that is at $388,164. Any questions?
Any questions from anybody? All right, number 6, consideration of possible action on appointment of successor agent for MSTC's Gourmet Cafe to Melissa.
And this is just due to a change. They lost their agent, so this is just replacing them right now.
I'll make a motion to approve Melissa to be the agent for Midstate.
Motion by Andy, do we have a second?
I can second.
Patty, second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Consideration and possible action on resolution 2021-34 to provide substitution for a treasurer's bond.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2021-34.
Motion by Bill,
Second.
second by Andy. We'll do a roll call in favor. Bill?
Aye.
Patty?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Amber is not here, and I am aye. Motion approved. Have you sign that afterwards, or we stamp that? Okay. Consideration of possible action on accepting resignation of Plan Commission member Justin Connor and accept appointment of new member to fill remainder of the term expiring in May of 2022.
I'll make a motion to accept the resignation so we can discuss it.
I'll second that motion.
Bill, second. Any discussion?
Have we received information on a replacement or?
Yeah, Adam Decline is going to be appointed.
So we'll want to make that
We'll-
in a motion.
Correct, but we'll finish this motion here and then I'll,
I just want to say Justin Connor was, I really appreciated the time that he devoted to the Plan Commission. He was an excellent member, and I think we're going to miss him.
Yeah, he had a lot of experience.
He has a lot of experience in planning and zoning, so.
any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion.
I'll make a motion to approve Adam Decline as the new member replacing.
I can second.
Patty, second. Any discussion on that?
Yes, so he was an alternate, correct? So there somebody be,
No, Adam was not.
oh.
I think he's an alternate
an
on the Board of Review, or Board of Appeals.
Yeah, Board of Appeals, yep.
Okay.
But he had been working with the Planning Commission for
Oh,
quite a
Yeah,
while.
he has helped with us with the comprehensive plan.
Right.
So he's familiar with our group, and I think he'll be a great asset to be on the committee. He's very knowledgeable, and he currently works in the planning and zoning also at Wood County.
Right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Consideration and possible actions on items from October 27th Recycling and Solid Waste Water Commission meeting.
Mr. Chairman, could I start off on this?
I
Or
would
do you have
appreciate-
some?
no, I would appreciate it if you did.
Okay, I don't know how many people out there have a copy of these minutes, but I just think that meeting held on the 27th was probably one of the best committee meetings I've been to in discussing water. I think we had the right people at the table, and it all sounded good. I just think I'm tired since 2017 of kicking the can down the road on what we're gonna do about water, and I think it's about time we act. So I have some things, and if I could just start out on number 5, and that's on flood prevention. That's the 50-year plan. Since the meeting, to let you know that Lance Primmel, County Board Chair, and was present at that meeting, has said he's willing to have, this is what he said, he is willing to have our attorney and the Corporation Council sit down and discuss that 50-year plan. Well, I did tell Lance that I would bring that to the committee, that he offered that, and I think part of that has already been done. My thing of it is that I think somebody and not myself, but somebody should get involved in this, because I think we should be involved in that 50-year plan is the people that started it 50 years ago. And in doing that, I'm saying the county board representatives that represent the town of Grand Rapids, there's 3 of them, and should be involved in that. And I think the city of Wisconsin Rapids, because no matter what we do, it's going to be polluting basically Lake Wazeecha and maybe Nepco Lake. And at the same time, that's why the person that the administrator for the village of Port Edwards is involved. And I think that's who should get together on this issue. Because the 50-year plan, I presented that to this board in 2017. Not to the board, to a member of the board in 2017. And I've been talking about that plan ever since. But it really come out now, and a lot of people have a copy of that plan, and I think it's important that we look at that. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but that's why I want the minutes of this meeting, so the board can take some action and say, yeah, we're tired of kicking the can down the road, let's do something, you know.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I think at the next recycling meeting,
Yeah.
there's a couple other topics that we should discuss and possibly bring to the full board, such as the, what we have to do for the dredging of the 2 mile, the ditch over by 71st, that sand pile over by Kellner International. There's some things that
So if I could set up a meeting, you as chair, would you be part of that meeting? I'll try to set it up.
you mean a meeting besides the waste, a separate meeting? other than-
Yeah, just because Lance wants to get this going. And it's because we're starting to talk about in the 1st of January, we're starting to talk about at the county level and even at our level about ARPA funds.
Mhm.
Don't mean we have to spend them, we got till 2024 to spend them, so that's what. But I'd like to get that started, but I would prefer that, you be along on that.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. One thing I would say too is, when I think about the 2 mile, we've got winter coming up.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I know that cleaning something like that out is a heck of a lot easier in the wintertime when
Yeah.
things are frozen and the bugs aren't there.
This is just for the 50-mile plan, and 50-year plan, not
Okay,
50
all
mile.
right, yeah.
But then I don't know if anybody else has something that they'd like to add to it. Think it's a good idea. And Nick, you have sent the letter to,
Yeah, so my only comment is, I certainly appreciate and would be happy to be a part of any meeting, but solely just me and Corporation Counsel meet, I think both sides have had their legal counsel
Yeah,
issue an
right.
opinion at this point, so it would really be us talking about the legal opinion that we've already postured. And so I think, from my recollection of the Recycling and Solid Waste Committee, that conversation really had more to do with stakeholders and representatives from each of those stakeholders attending a meeting and not necessarily just legal counsel.
and on the county board, I am a member of RCD, Resource Conservation and Development Committee. And I'm an officer in 2 positions there. It's a county appointment by Lance Bremmel. I've been on it for 17 years. And, I would get RCD involved in it because there's a one. The thing of it is RCD now charges a 38% admin fee, which I'm fighting right now, which at that time it was free. And we can go through our land and water, so. I think it's a good idea, and I will try to get something together on that.
Okay. Does anybody else on the board have questions about any of these meetings or the minutes from that meeting, or suggestions or anything, comments?
So number 6, I'd like to discuss that. That's the Lampert Lee thing.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I think we should have a committee working on that Lampert Lee deal, and where it's also needed. And it was suggested at that meeting that they also be involved in the Edgewood, which they are,
And then somebody said about the 2 mile, but I just think the 2 mile creek is another subject, but
Yes.
I think the Public Works Committee, and that's you and Simon, you know, should be involved in that, and the reports come from you. And you deal with Lampert Lee and report back to the board? Because I think that's kind of what's going on right now.
Well, I think the first step in something like that, and again, we'll have to do this in the wastewater committee,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I think the
okay.
DNR is probably the first step to figure out what has to happen. there.
Yes,
If it's
yes.
navigable water, I don't want to do anything until they tell us what we can and cannot do, but that will probably be the first step. And I know as far as the mapping, Larry was supposed to come and pick up that stick with the video, did he?
I don't know if he did, but it's been in the front office for him. I'm not
Because
sure
I
if
know
he did.
I talked to him whenever, right after this meeting here, and he was gonna come and get one. And I know there was some maps, some people had requested copies of maps there. I don't know if everybody got a copy that wanted a copy. And then the video we can do also, so.
And then when it talks on item number 7 about the plan, about the 2 mile ditch. Now, I heard a comment about that somebody's gonna run a drone down there when the leaves are off. I don't know,
I heard that too, but I
Oh.
can't say exactly anything about it.
but somebody was gonna run, and I don't know who that was. It
That was
some-
me.
Pardon?
That was me. So that's
Can you,
gonna
is
happen.
it all right, Pete Thomas?
That sounds good.
Okay.
When that video is done, I will give it to you. We're gonna run a drone from 80th Street on a 2 mile to its termination and see what we can see from the air, how much blockage is actually in there. So that's gonna happen. When it's done, I will give it to you, Jeremy.
Okay, thank you.
And you can share it with whomever you like, but at least you're gonna have, and we, the citizens, are gonna have some idea of what that backup is in that 2 mile.
Sure.
And if it's what I think it is, what I can see from the roads, it's pretty serious.
Yeah.
So,
So I think that's a good idea, but I just heard it as a rumor. But, no, on the 2 mile creek is a lot of DNR input on this, and we heard it at the meeting. I don't know if Patty's gonna object to this, but I think this is a good plan for.
Why do you say that
I
right
did,
away?
because I think it's for, this is a
You're
good.
just assuming that. That was a bad
I just
statement.
think that this should go to the plan commission. This is who I think should do this, and on the plan commission, because then it involves the sanitary district also. And I think those people should meet and what to do with the 2 mile. Because it's upsetting a lot of people, this 2 mile and what should be done and what shouldn't be done. And I think a committee should take this over, like the plan commission, and I'll hear emails from this meeting
Why would the
from,
wastewater, why would the water committee hand it over to the planning commission?
well, because it's a plan for that creek. You know, it's, the DNR had so much involved in it, and I always hear from the sanitary district. That gentleman called me, who's president of the sanitary district, and what plans he had it dredged. That's why I think if it was dredged once or cleaned out once, why aren't they more involved in that?
I can't answer that, but
Yeah.
I think where we need to start with is keep this in the
Okay.
water committee
All right.
right now and figure
Those are my
out,
thoughts.
do some legwork there before we send it off to.
And I just want to make it perfectly clear, Bill, that the Plan Commission, it will take on any type of challenge or anything that is brought to them. And it's not for me to object or not. It's, remember, we're all on the same team. And so you make acquisitions that I may object to it. And
Well, I
that's-
apologize for any acquisition I made.
Well, thank you
I
very
just
much. Thank you. Because I do work very hard to
I
get things
apologize.
accomplished.
Any other comments?
Are we talking about the Lampert and Lee thing yet on this water? Can we speak to it? Or are we, one of the items, I don't have a copy of that agenda that Bill has there. My question is, have they completed their report?
No.
They have not?
No, he
Okay.
has,
You're
he has,
looking
he has a
for-
copy of what the city did, the videoing of the city, and he's going to be laying that over top of the map that they did as far as what they see, if there were issues, where those issues were, and he'll map that out. And I would assume that will probably come back to the next, if we have a water meeting in December, or possibly the town. I have to get with Larry and find out where he's at with that, but I know that's gonna take a little bit of time.
So, for a point of information, I'd like Jerry Bloom to address, he's the long-standing person in Edgewood Acres. And if you wouldn't mind, Jerry, tell them what you told me last evening when we visited about that road and that field and that drainage. What went on there before the laterals were put in Edgewood Acres? You know.
Well, I'm 82 years
Actually,
old. and
sir,
what I-
can we wait till the second public comment?
You certainly can.
Okay, I'd like, if that's all right, I'd like to keep moving along. We've got some other things, and we'll open it up to the second public comment, and then you can make those comments. So, okay, anything else? Otherwise, we'll move on. Consideration and possible action on building inspection services.
And I had this one wrong, I see that this is it.
Yeah.
That's my mistake.
No.
So you don't have anything in your packets for this item? This is just purely.
This is a follow-up to try to get the reports that are owed to us based on the contract that was signed, correct?
Yes, and if you,
I mean, I can speak to
Oh,
it briefly, because I do have some of that history. I believe it was back in June, the board had first discussed and asked the chairman to contact our building inspector for the reports. I know that shortly thereafter, the chairman did reach out to our building inspector to request those reports. Last I heard, they were being worked on. I have now also heard that we have not received any reports. I know there was some other discussions about whether the county would be able to possibly perform any of those services, and it's only been very initial conversations. I think where I had heard that kind of rested was there would need to be some kind of formal request for them to kind of explore that, and they were at least at that time talking about, well, what is the need from other communities, right? Because we're not alone in the need for building inspectors. I mean, it's I think it's a issue that a lot of communities are experiencing. One of the concerns with reaching out to the county without a report is that we don't really know what we've been doing, right? And they're going to ask us for that,
Sure.
most certainly. And so my recommendation would be that we follow up with the new chairman, and I can certainly assist with that wording, to request again, and request it by, and I'd ask Lisa, when is the cutoff for kind of releasing the packets for the town board?
for December's meeting, that Friday before.
Okay. So I think we would put a timeline, absolute latest that we would get the report being then Wednesday before that, so that could be forwarded and then included in the board's packet.
That'd be December 8th, then, if it's that Wednesday, because the meeting's the 14th, second Tuesday, it's only
Okay.
Tuesday, so yeah, it'd be December 8th, would be that Wednesday.
So I think just a follow-up communication with a firm
Yeah.
deadline. I can tell you that the email that was sent clearly specified what we were expecting. I had that in my notes, and I put that in the list. We would just follow up with that and ask for that by December 8th.
Okay, all right, that seems very doable and something that should definitely be done.
I just have a question on comment on that too.
Yes, sir.
So if we do not receive the report, would we be able to look at kind of permits issued, any payments for those type of things? Do we have the records of that we would be able to, at that point, move forward with exploring other options, and we would have some raw data that we could go to understand kind of what our needs would be?
Yeah, I think we would have, we would have the ability to compile some of that raw data. I think some of the information we were looking for was more practical experience that himself would likely have records of that maybe we wouldn't, and that's why we wanted it in a report form. But certainly, if we request it and are not provided that, we'd look back to our contracts, see when that renewal and any kind of notifications we need to give to then commence any kind of subsequent request for proposals. We'd have some raw data to start with, at least.
Okay.
Sounds like we have a plan there.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to just table this until our next meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 11, disbursement vouchers. Anybody have any questions, concerns on those?
Yeah, I had, one question, or no, actually just, on page 1 of the vouchers, where they were talking about the painting of the town line on 32nd Street. I guess I didn't realize how expensive painting is on roads. And I'm not sure how many miles or they actually painted, but that cost to paint town line and 32nd Street was $5,100.
I can, do you want me to
Yeah.
address that? So that invoice is paid, I think it was 5 miles, but not all of that's ours. I have to invoice the other
Oh.
communities. So
Okay.
we will, I think our portion was 2.5 miles, I believe.
Okay.
It was not quite half. Saratoga has the most. And then same with the invoice that we pay to Scott Construction.
Mhm.
I have to invoice then. I've got the breakdown, Rick and I have it all
Okay.
figured out. And I
Okay,
just have to
that's
invoice
good,
them.
because I knew that painting wasn't that expensive for us in past
No.
years, so when I saw that, I just thought that to be,
Yeah, because that included Town Line and 32nd. We'll get the funds back for
Right.
part of it.
and then, one of the things I wanted to ask about, when, on page 5, where we had the HH Industries and the LED lights, is there opportunity, maybe Amy, you would be able to inquire about that? That municipalities could get anything for, like, focus on energy?
Oh,
Or
we
like-
got
Yeah,
it.
we did receive.
Did you get that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Bill had, the person that he had arranged, he brought the form and I submitted it. We got the money back.
Oh,
It's all
excellent.
done.
Okay. And I also, on page 7, where there was a monitor, recycle, was that a monitor possibly found in the ditch or something that we turned in?
For,
It just said
Oh, ODC.
recycled ODC. I just was curious if you found that in the ditch or if it was ours.
Yep, any of those charges would be what Rick and the crew have found in the ditches.
Yeah,
so.
okay. All right, just because the fact we didn't collect
Right.
electronics at this last choose to reuse, I just wanted to know if that's gonna be the norm.
Yeah, we usually have 2 or 3 times a year. We usually get
Okay,
an invoice for that.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the disbursement vouchers? Moving on, number 12, operator license applications. We have one, correct? Added late here. Kristen Phillips for Jammers.
I can make a motion to approve Kristen Phillips Jammers.
Have a motion, got a second?
I'll second.
Andy, second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, on the monthly reports. Public Works, we did not meet, so nothing there. Planning Commission.
We did not have a meeting, and we have one scheduled for next month.
You have one scheduled for December.
Sure.
Can I ask why that weird thing I got it for an email about not having a,
It was just a notice to say that there wasn't a meeting. I think is probably what you're talking about from your.
yeah, but it came over weird.
No,
I almost didn't open it.
I'm not sure why it came weird. I know I did put out an email just saying that there was no meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Public Safety, that's Amber, right?
Yes.
She's not here. WTA meeting.
For the WTA meeting, it was held October 15th at the town of Arpin, and they usually have theirs in a church there. Quentin Ellis was the speaker. He's with the Sheriff's Department. He spoke on ATVs and UTV routes and safety items about it. And it was quite a lengthy discussion and a lot of questions from the different people there. Mike Holland from Senator Ron Johnson's office reported on the 12,800 Afghanistan refugees in Camp McCoy and what was going on there. And there was questions about that. Representative Nancy Van Meter was working on a bill which would allow retailers to charge for the use of charging stations for shutdown for their vehicles. And they're working on that. Steve Dickerson, WTA Director, reported on the Board of Review. And next year is what that will require is at least one person will have to be, has to go for a refresher course. And there's no meeting in November because that's the holy day for deer hunting. So December 3rd will be the meeting and it'll be held in the town of Auburndale. That's it. Anybody got any questions?
Thank you. Airport Commission, we did have a meeting. October was the best October that the airport basically has ever had. It's due to still the interest in Sand Valley, the warm fall, the golf course was still open, highest fuel sales. So as long as nothing major happens between now and December, it looks like that that budget will come in looking really good. So the airport's doing pretty good. Public buildings.
We haven't met at that.
No meeting, okay. Economic development, I know Amber's not here. Andy, did you guys meet?
We did not. We were going to, and that'll be coming up soon, I guess.
Okay. One thing on the economic development, I know that Amber went to the seed committee last week?
Yes.
Yeah, last week. And they did approve the funding to get that trail, some things done with that trail. So I'll let her.
You almost got more than you expected.
Yeah. It was a different meeting, that's for sure. Recycling and wastewater, I think we kind of covered that with number 10.
Yeah.
Legislative, we did not have one. Personnel, did not have a
In Public Works.
meeting. We didn't have a meeting.
Oh, are you planning on having a meeting to discuss the 5-year plan?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and a couple other things. So I gotta get with Rick and find out what he's doing during
Okay.
possibly the week of Thanksgiving. That week.
Okay, thanks.
Reports from individual town board members. Andy, anything?
I just want to thank the board for appointing me back. I'm glad to be back here on the board and excited to continue the service.
Appreciate your input, for sure.
Thank you.
Patty?
I was just gonna say welcome, Andy. That's exactly what I was gonna say, so look forward to the year coming up or working with you again.
Thank you.
Mr. Bill?
No, I don't have anything. Thank you.
And I would just like to thank everybody for the support for this last month. It was a tough month. We struggled through and we'll continue to get through and keep moving on as we can. We owe it to the individuals who voted us in, so that's all I've got. Okay, public input. 2 minutes, total of 16. Anybody have any public input? Looks like you're excited about it too.
My name's Jerry Bloom. I live in Lenox, 6511 Lenox Avenue. I've lived there since 1969. When we built there, it was when they first started having water problems, and they put my basement in, and whoop, all of a sudden it was full of water. And that's about the time that the chairman got together with the owner of the subdivision, and the town put in the drain fields around it. One of the things I mentioned to Keith, we moved up here when I was 12 years old. And my buddy Jevnik lived in the front of that subdivision, and we'd come over and ride our bikes down the old gravel trail, dirt trail called 64th Street. And in my memory, there was more than one creek back there. I know there was the one, but I swear there were 2 creeks back there. And then one of the things that started to happen was the farmers on the west side of 64th, and I don't know what happened on the west side, but they started filling in the creeks so they could use the land for whatever they wanted to. Now, can I swear that I have photographic pictures of all of that? Heck no, it's just my 82-year-old memory. But those creeks not draining the back end of our subdivision was one of the reasons we needed to have that system to take the water out of the subdivision and pour it down to good old Lake Wazeecha. And for years and years and years, it's been pouring water down there, not just in the summer, but in the winter as well. So, Keith, did I say anything else you want me to add?
Well, I think one of those creeks, if I can refresh your memory, crossed at the intersection of Wood Avenue and 64th Street. Because when I moved there, that was a sand road.
Yep.
And the field to the east, as I mentioned before to this board, that water, when it comes off the 2 mile and drains towards the southwest, it comes right through that field to the north of Edgewood Acres and wants to cross exactly where the flood was in August of this past summer. And that water wants to go to that old creek bed. So when the town graded that road, ditched it out, and if somebody took a gradient of the ditches, they're all cattywampus. None of them are pointing towards the 2 mile. The water can't go where it wants to go, but it will go there. That's why it crossed the corner of Wood Avenue and 64th Street. That culvert, there should have been a culvert in there, and that old creek bend should have been left where water would go, and it would run into the 2 mile. So there's a history of blocking normal water flow, and that's one of the issues, along with the blockage in my train of thought of the 2 mile being blocked by numerous stumps, trees, whatever catches anywhere. I think we need to address, at least that, the board does.
Anybody else?
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead,
ahead.
Sharon.
Yeah, I don't understand, we had this meeting with the DNR and everything at the recycling committee meeting. And why do we have to ship it back there? I don't understand why the board can't take action tonight. Either let's look at the 2 mile, let's get Lampert and Lee in there and hire him to do that, to look at that. Why are we kicking it back to the recycling committee? And, what more is there to, they had everybody around the table that was an interested party here. So why are we back there again? Why can't the board tonight take this and say, okay, we're gonna have some action on it? So that's I mean, we're just throwing it back to another committee, bringing it back here again. So I just don't understand, understand the reasoning behind that. I think, you know, like you said, in the wintertime is the best time to get this done. Here we are, oh, it's gonna be December and holidays, and now we're gonna be into January and whatever. I don't understand why there couldn't be a motion out of this, the meeting minutes on this item.
Any other comments?
Just a clarification on the video footage from the city of Wisconsin Rapids on the system in Edgewood Acres. Is that going to be available, and if so, at a cost, or do we have any information on that yet?
I'll let Lucy know the specifics of it.
You would need to come to the main office and fill out a records request, and then you would get charged for a flash drive cost and a little time to obviously transfer it, but mostly the flash drive cost, so.
Okay, and that, so do I need to give you notice ahead of time if I wanted a copy of that?
No,
So
the
somebody
front
could,
office has records request forms. You
Okay.
can just come and ask that you want to fill out a records request.
and then they could put the flash drive, you can get that right away. So it's like $10 or less, are you talking?
You not necessarily right away, no. You'll put the request in, and then we have so much time to provide it to you, so.
Okay, so flash drive, $10 or less? Is that what we're
Probably.
talking? Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I agree with what Shirley was saying. I wish we'd do something. I mentioned to some of the guys after the meeting last time that, you know, the water slowed down and we got 4 or 5 months of peace. But they mentioned what happens if we get a lot of snow. We're gonna be back to the way it was the last 2 years. This year was a short year for pumping, but it can come back where we're pumping for 8 or 9 months. And I guess, you know, we need to see what is in that. If they do a video with a drone, we'll be able to see something. I guess just have some guys walk back there and take a look. See with their own eyes what it looks like. I mean, maybe some of the town crew could go back there with some video cameras and look too.
Any other comments?
Can I have my other two, whatever? Whatever. Okay, so that's all hunky-dory, but Lambert and Lee is gonna have the official results, just like they did over in Edgewood. I think, you know, the drone is fine, everybody walking through there, fine. But I think we need official, and I think the board, to make a really good decision, needs, it's like Lambert and Lee, it's not gonna cost, I would think, $10,000 or whatever for that to be done. But I think the board needs some good information, facts, about what is going on there from Lambert and Lee to make a good decision.
Anyone else?
What has to transcend for anybody a group of people to go in there and clean that street? Do we have to have permission from who?
Yeah.
God Almighty or who?
That's
I
something.
mean, that's the question you need to answer. We need to find that out here. Who is the ultimate authority? Maybe our
The DNR, no, the DNR. They said that at that recycling meeting, is that it starts with them, and that's why I mentioned in the next water recycling committee meeting that we have, that's one thing that we have to address. That's where we have to start, is the DNR says, this is what can be done, whether we have to get all landowners permit, whether they need something, you know, that's where it all starts. It's navigable water, so that's where it starts.
I have just one other comment. At the other meeting, they said that to the east, that they cleaned out their water. And I remember the DNR says, well, you just can't go in there and clean it out because you'll send the water down to somebody else down the stream. Well, the comment at the meeting was, hey, they did it, so how did they get permission? That's my question. Why can't we get the same permission? You know, they're not saying we can't, but I'm just saying, I think we should be able to get that permission to do it. And if we get this cleaned out, that'll help these people in the subdivision, like they say, that the water was disrupted. If they send it on to us and it backs up, then it's gonna come right back to them. That's my comment.
Any other comments? Okay, we're gonna close that part.
I'll have one quick one. Sorry.
Sir.
Sorry. I would just ask the board to reach out, who's the expert to look at 2 Mile? I don't know if Lambert and Lee, they're more civil engineering, if they're geared for hydrology or not, if there's a hydrogeologist expert that might know waterways better.
Not that you bark up the wrong tree. I'm not saying Lampert can't do it. I'm just saying maybe the research to find out the right person to do it so you get your best answer right away.
All right. Future agenda items.
Just one that was tabled, we've got.
Yeah, the minutes from this, from October.
Minutes and then the.
And the,
Building inspector.
Building
the
inspector.
building,
Thank you.
right, the building inspector and the minutes. So we'll put those on. All right, item 17, then we will move into closed session. Grand Rapids Town Board moving in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85, 1C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, performance, evaluation, data of any public employee over which governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility under Wisconsin Statute 19.85, 1E, deliberation and negotiating whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require closed session for the purpose of discussing contract negotiations and status strategy regarding the town of Grand Rapids WPPA represented employees and negotiate with WPPA regarding said collective bargaining agreement.
I have so moved, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Bills, do you have a second?
I'll second.
Katie. Any discussion? All in favor, Bill?
Aye.
Patty?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Jeremy, aye. Amber's absent. So we will move into closed session. Thank you, everybody.
Well, when you